Good morning, my friends. Here I am back in my shed. Well, today it's not going to be about wood turning. As some of you know, I have an old Atlas lathe. That's my lathe. That's what I use. Great lathe as far as I'm concerned. The only big drawback I have with it is changing speeds. It's a very dependable lathe. A couple of days ago, I'm always looking on Craigslist, see if somebody's got one that's got variable speed, or looking for a variable speed drive, or maybe a DC motor with a conversion, something that I can do to my lathe. Well, as some of you know, I recently picked up a lathe. And initially, in looking at my old lathe, comparing it against the new one, and there's a lot of great features of my old lathe that I really didn't want to give up. But I think that I was letting sentimental value take over the decisions on which lathe I was going to actually put up and be using. Well, the lathe that I picked up is an MC 900. It's kind of an entry-level lathe. It's nothing great, but it's compatible with the all the Reeves drive 12-inch lathes. It's got the swivel head. It's got the handle to change the speed, and like I said, the fact that it has a smaller motor was one of the key factors that I was leaning more towards. Keep in mind, in my old one in its place, the 300 RPM speed that I had on mine's because of the countershaft was also a big factor on whether if I was going to use this one or not, the new one, because the slowest speed on this one is 600 RPMs. And for a large bowl, not that I'm turning anything large, not that large anyway, but I do turn a lot of off-balance stuff. And for that off-balance stuff, that 300 RPM is probably still going to be a feature that I'm going to be missing a lot. But I've come to the decision that I love the idea of being able to change speeds on the fly. This lathe is a little bit heavier than my Atlas, than the old Atlas. So I feel that it's a little bit more rugged. It's, like I said, it's not a great lathe, but it's a decent lathe. So I got the lathe. I got the new old table saw in the background, and I want to show you that. And there's one other toy that I got in the shed that I'm giving it a try. Give me a break away from the lathe every once in a while, because I constantly turning. And to tell you the truth, I'm running out of ideas of what to turn. There's still a lot of things that I haven't caught up on that I still want to turn, but I always keep leaning is towards the wood that I got. And the wood that I got is not necessarily for the projects that I'm still want to be doing in the future. But anyway, the first thing that I want to do is show you the lathe. And it's red. It's not a very common color on the red. I mean, it does come up. These MC 900s are made in a lot of color variations. So anyway, I actually have something mounted on it. I wanted to give it a shot and see how it is. And I got to get used to it, because the switch for my old lathe is down here. And I have it set up on the table that my old lathe was sitting on. I like the stand. It's not great, but I also kept the stand with everything that is from the old lathe on here, because I put it up for sale, and if somebody says, okay, I will buy the Atlas, well, I'm selling the Atlas with a 1.5 horse motor, with a counter shaft, this table or this stand. So basically I'll just build another stand for this one. And I mean, it did come with a stand, but I wouldn't use that stand. It's not worth the wood that it was sitting on. So anyway, I will rebuild something for it, but I will maintain this one because of the motor and the counter shaft being installed on here, and the height and everything is set up for the old Atlas. So anyway, but not bad. Got the lathe. It came with a bunch of inexpensive, cheap tools, really cheap. Not going to be able, not going to use them for anything. Came with what I believe might be a Nova scroll chuck. You know, I don't know if it's a Nova, but either way, with an insert type. So I can just, the thread on this is a 1/8. The thread on the Atlas is a 1/10. A very hard tool to get any accessories for, because nobody makes the 1/10 other than inserts by Technitool makes inserts for 1/10 for your insert type chuck. So I will be selling my old Nova chuck with that one, but if I didn't want to sell it and wanted to use it, all I had to do was buy the insert for 1/8, which is readily available all over the place. This will give me a lot more options to get accessories. I have now faceplates that could go with this. Well, tool number 2. I might be doing a little bit of work with it, and maybe doing a couple of videos as well. But it's a scroll saw. Now, I had been looking at these for a while, and looking for a deal to come along. So on Craigslist, I mean, you know, all my tools, I kind of just shop around. I wait for the deal to come around, and you know, then I get it. I mean, I got this $25. It's an old Delta. It's single speed. So since then, I've gone out. I bought a switch for it, and I got it over here because if I'm resting, if I'm working over here, I can just lean in into it and do my work and stop it as I need with the knee. It's designed for the foot, but you can actually have foot fatigue because you got to hold the foot at that position all the time. It's kind of awkward, the angle. So put my little fold-up stool over here. I can hang it up when I'm not using it. Right there. Bought a $4 lit up magnifying glass light with a bracket, and that helps a little bit. I've done one little project with this. As a matter of fact, I was just playing around. Oh wow, what bad lighting. Well, today this is a piece of eucalyptus, and it's you know, 1.5 inch thick or whatever, and I was kind of given the saw a little bit of a test if I was cutting something a little bit thicker. So I kind of just drew up a cartoon figure here, and I was going through it. I got to cut the hair. It's stood there, but I didn't finish it. But I came up with a problem. Is that the blade actually flexed while I was cutting this. So it's slightly bowed. You gotta get a cut where the blade is completely square and straight all the way down. So with that flex, I am unable to remove it to one side or the other. It catches up on the high sides on both spots. So you can see that I can get it flat, but I can only push it so far and not be able to go all the way through. So anyway, I need a lot of practice with that, and I mean, I've done a small piece. Was my first trial. Show you the tablet. Well, I did this for a template. I gotta tell you, having never used one, I was in for quite a surprise when I put the woods to it. Of course, when I started with the wheels and work on this area over here. So basically I started at this base. Wrong thing to do as your first time to do a cut. Do wild cuts on the outside, practice doing a curve away from the product, away from your final thing. But anyway, by the time I did these octagon shaped wheels, because that's what it was all kind of jagged inside, but by the time I gave it up, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. I need to practice on how to use a scroll saw and make kind of somewhat of a circle. Then I came back a couple of days later and decided, okay, I'm going to continue with this one and see if I'm getting any better anyway. And I did the rest of the piece from outside, and by the time I got halfway through it, I was definitely getting a lot better with the cuts. So I started off really rough, and I ended up fairly decent. Not great, but at least I made this one up. And you know, you can download, some people offer you free downloads of some templates, but you can draw your own. You can get a template from somebody else like this, so you can do all kinds of things, name things, plaques, and so on and so forth. So in between lathe projects, I will turn to the scroll saw and do a few of these in between. Last piece. Okay, I don't know, you might have seen that some of my older videos, I've always had a rigid table saw in this place, and it was a nice saw. I bought it when it was new. I've had it for 12, 13 years, whatever. And the fence, the front part of the rail, actually stood out a little bit longer than this one over here, but it did not give me any wider a cut than this one. This one I can go on the marker. I have 25 inches over here, so I can do a right side 25-inch rip. The rail lengths on both front and back were much longer than this one. It came all the way to the almost my window back there. The front rail extended to about here on the setup. So it was a slightly bigger footprint than this one. Now, I had it on casters where I could move it out, but I could not turn it inside my shop. There were only a couple of spots that I could actually make the turn, because of the overall length of the whole piece. So, looking at Craigslist, believe it or not, somebody had this beautiful saw for sale for $20. I felt guilty. I went over there, and you know, I gave more than what they were asking for it, because it's like, all right, it wasn't like this. It didn't look like this. It was rusted to hell. All these pipe rails were all rusty. The back one worse than the front. but it was really bad. The two side tables were stamped metal, and they are stamped steel. This one, and there was one on this side. Well, I took them out, I cleaned them all up, sanded it, primed it, repainted it, and made a new extension wing for my router to sit on the table. I like that feature. So, trued up the fence, cleaned it all up, painted it as well, and you know, it's a, you know, the reviews when you read up on this table saw back in the day when Delta made it, there were a lot of good reviews on the overall of the table saw, but one thing that everybody criticized and urged you to do an upgrade was the fence system. They all like, I can't believe Delta made such a beautiful saw and put such a bad fence on it. Well, you know something, I adjusted this thing, I put it up to whatever point, don't even put pressure or anything, lock it up, and this fence is dead on every time. If I want to see the back of the cast, okay, just getting you to the edge of the cast, well, I got a line all the way through. I've put my feeler gauge, which I picked up one of those tachometer, I don't know what they're called, but with a sensor that gives you a distance, and move this blade, move this fence fairly close to it, locked it up, and ran that feeler from the front of the blade to the back of the blade, and I had like 2/1000ths of an inch. I mean, 2/1000ths difference just by putting the fence without making any adjustments to it. So I like this. The only drawback that I have about this one is the fact that the measurements are engraved into this tube rail. So there's nothing I can do to offset this in any way. It's set, that is it. And so you can see that the numbers are engraved right into this pipe. And really, all I have is about 1/4 of an inch, if that, and even that I don't like, because you are obviously just spinning this off from a true straight 90-degree angle. So if you're off just a little bit, you can see that this pointer is aiming one way or the other and not dead on. Because there is no adjustment on this, if this was flat and you had a pointer with a slide mechanism, but that slid on the true axis, not swung, then I could bring it to a 0 point at the blade. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is that it would be nice to be able to add an auxiliary fence to this, and I had that on the other saw, the rigid, and when I bought it, it actually had a sacrificial fence against the side. But what that meant is that the measurement on this readout was 3/4 of an inch off. So if you brought the fence dead onto the blades and you had that 3/4 inch wood, well, there's no way to adjust this point to read accurately. So you could always put it in your mind, add exactly 1 inch piece to the fence, and know that you're always an inch off from the marker. Well, yeah, you know, I don't want to do that either. So if there's any wood extension that I want to put, and that I can do will be actually on this side of it, so I can use it up with the router. So by putting a board on this side, I can use it up with a router and not worry about my router hitting steel at any point. So I'll be doing that. Gonna make sure that I get bolts that will go in the back side over here and stay flush with the face and not protrude. But the table saw, now like I said, the rigid, it worked. It was an okay of a saw. It served me well for quite a few years. I added the mobile base that was on my bandsaw because I don't need my bandsaw saw to be portable. It's in a place that I can cut anything that I'm going to be cutting right on it. I don't need any more length to the back. I don't need any more length towards the front, and the back part of the thing is up against the wall, so I can't cut deeper than that. Anyway, it's got the C frame behind it, so the bandsaw does not need to have any type of mobile base. Oops. I actually put this on backwards on purpose, so this lever would not be out here and I would not hit it or kick it or take more room from what I need. I put my foot in here and I push it down when I need to move it, and I can move it. And I mean, it's a heavy saw, but I can move it. It's on a 3-wheel, so I can swing it over here and start doing turning and bring it away if I need to make long rips. But typically when I'm using it, I'm using it as the cross sled, and everything I cut, this is the extent of how far back I go with it. Anyway, that's the 3 new tools in the workshop. This is not going to be about this turning right now. I will be posting this video up probably Wednesday, and this one is going to be about approaches to finishes, what I use and the techniques, and I will show some examples of if you do it this way or if you do it that way, and you'll be able to see the differences from one to the other and make your own comparisons. And that way you will know on which way you want to tackle stuff, or which steps you might want to miss or not miss. There are some that I feel are crucial and that you can get away with, and there are some that you can, but you see a little bit of a difference between one and the other. It depends on how much time you want to spend. And I'm one of those people that I don't like to doodle around. I don't like spending a lot of time with any one thing. I like going in there, really gouge something out, get it done, get the look I'm looking for, and move on to the next thing. And I mean, I myself still need practice with some tools, and there's times I come out here and I put the tool and I approach it just right and I make a perfect cut. It's like, wow, nice cut. And I'll come back out here later on and I approach the tool and I'm not getting that same perfect cut anymore. So I have to make adjustments to my body or speed or approach with the tool, and those are areas that I'm still working on to improve on. Yeah, I might have a knack for looking at something and knowing more or less what it's going to look like at the end, or visualize something that will work with that particular blank or that piece of wood. But you know, that doesn't make me an expert on tool handling. So you want to learn is how to use your tools properly. There's a lot of wood turners out there. Mike Walt, for one, has a beginner's guide to using the tools. But just about everywhere you go with these, a lot of other wood turners, they show you their approach and technique, and you can learn from them if you're not seeing methods with me. What I'm showing you is what I do, how I achieve it, how I reach it, and not necessarily the techniques that were used on every step of the way. Well, we'll see you soon.